The Forgotten Outpost. Captain Sarah Chen stood at the observation deck of New Terra Station, watching the morning sun cast long shadows across their struggling crops. The coffee in her hands had gone cold hours ago, but she held onto the ceramic mug like an anchor. Through the reinforced glass, she could see the reality that Earth's colonial administration preferred to ignore. New Terra was humanity's most remote agricultural outpost, planted on the very edge of explored space. What was supposed to be a thriving food production center had become something else entirely, a place where broken equipment held together with determination, where crop yields barely sustained the 300 souls who called this rock home, and where the nearest human contact was 6 months away by the fastest ship. The station itself showed its age and hardships. Solar panels were patched with salvaged materials, atmospheric processors wheezed with each cycle, and the central hub bore scorch marks from a fire that happened 2 years ago. They had never received the replacement parts to properly repair the damage. Earth was too busy expanding toward more profitable systems to worry about their struggling outpost. Sarah adjusted her worn uniform and checked her tablet. Another day of impossible decisions awaited. The hydroponics bay was showing signs of contamination again. The water recycling system was operating at 60% efficiency, and they were down to emergency reserves for essential nutrients. Yet somehow they endured. In the main corridor, she passed Dr. Marcus Webb hurrying toward the agricultural sector, his arms full of sample containers and data tablets. Marcus was a brilliant scientist who could have had his pick of prestigious positions on core worlds. Instead, he had volunteered for New Terra 5 years ago and never left. His research into adaptive agriculture in hostile environments had kept them alive when conventional farming failed. "Another late night, Marcus," Sarah called out. He stopped and turned, his tired eyes brightening slightly. "The soil analysis from Sector 7 is finally showing promise. I think we might have found a way to neutralize the mineral toxicity that's been killing our grain crops." Sarah smiled. It was these small victories that kept them going. Good work. Every breakthrough helps. She continued toward the maintenance section, where she knew she would find Zara Okafor. At 25, Zara was the youngest department head on the station, but she had earned her position through pure talent. The young engineer had an almost supernatural ability to coax life from dying machinery and could build functional equipment from spare parts that other colonies would consider scrap. The maintenance bay was a maze of hanging cables, dismantled equipment, and half-finished projects. The air hummed with the sounds of welding and drilling. Sarah found Zara underneath a massive atmospheric processor, her legs sticking out from an access panel. "How bad is it this time?" Sarah asked. Zara slid out, her dark face streaked with grease and her coveralls stained with various fluids. "Well, the good news is that it's not completely dead. The bad news is that it should be." She wiped her hands on a rag. "I'm basically performing mechanical surgery with kitchen utensils at this point. We need proper replacement parts, not these jury-rigged solutions. Make it work, Zara. You always do." Zara grinned despite her exhaustion. "Give me another week, and I'll have it purring like a contented cat." A very sick cat, but still purring. Sarah left Zara to her miracles and made her way to the communication center. Tommy Rodriguez sat surrounded by screens and blinking lights, his fingers dancing across multiple keyboards simultaneously. Tommy was their lifeline to the outside universe, maintaining contact with passing ships and the distant colonial administration. "Any word from the supply convoy?" Sarah asked. Tommy shook his head without looking away from his screens. "Still 2 months out, assuming they don't get diverted again. But I did pick up something interesting." He swiveled his chair to face her. "There's been unusual subspace chatter in the outer rim sectors. Ships moving in formation, encrypted communications. Pirates. Maybe. Or maybe something else. The signal patterns don't match any known human or friendly alien configurations." Sarah felt a chill that had nothing to do with the station's temperature control issues. New Terra was isolated and poorly defended. Their only protection was their insignificance. 3 days later, Tommy's concerns proved prophetic. Sarah was reviewing crop rotation schedules when alarms began blaring throughout the station. She rushed to the command center, where Tommy was frantically working at his console. Multiple contacts dropping out of hyperspace, he reported, his voice tight with tension. Unknown configuration, definitely not human. On the main screen, Sarah watched as sleek, predatory-looking ships materialized in space around their system. There were 12 of them, each easily 3 times the size of New Terra Station. Their hulls were black as space itself, covered in angular protrusions that could only be weapons. Attempts to communicate? Sarah asked. They're responding, Tommy said. Signal coming through now. The screen flickered, and a face appeared that would haunt human nightmares for generations to come. It was vaguely reptilian, with scaled skin that shifted between purple and black, eyes like molten gold, and a mouth full of needle-sharp teeth. When it spoke, the station's computers provided a halting translation. Humans of the farming station, you are now property of the Nexari Empire. Your resistance is futile. Your technology is primitive. Your defenses are non-existent. You will submit, or you will be harvested for organic components. Sarah stepped forward, her military training taking over. This is Captain Sarah Chen of New Terra Station. We are a peaceful agricultural colony under the protection of Earth's Colonial Defense Force. Any hostile action against us will be met with. The alien's laugh cut her off. It was a sound like breaking glass mixed with screaming wind. Earth is far away, human female. Your defenders cannot reach you. We have monitored your pathetic settlement for days. You possess no weapons, no shields, no means of escape. You will surrender now, or we will take what we want from your corpses. The transmission ended. Sarah stood in the sudden silence, her mind racing. Around her, the handful of colonists in the command center stared at the screens in shock. Outside the viewports, the alien ships hung in space like dark omens. Dr. Webb entered the command center, his face pale. Sarah, I monitored the transmission from the lab. Are they serious? Dead serious, she replied. Tommy, how long until they reach us? At their current approach speed, maybe 6 hours. Sarah closed her eyes for a moment, feeling the weight of 300 lives on her shoulders. When she opened them again, her expression had changed. The exhausted colony administrator was gone, replaced by the military officer she had once been. All department heads to the command center immediately, she ordered. Tommy, send an emergency transmission to the Colonial Defense Force. They need to know what happened here. Even if they get the message, the nearest patrol is months away, Tommy pointed out. I know, send it anyway. She turned to address the growing group of senior staff. We have 6 hours to prepare for an invasion by technologically superior forces. Conventional resistance is impossible. Zara spoke up from the back of the room. So what do we do? Hide and hope they don't find us. Sarah's smile was grim and determined. We do what humans have always done when faced with impossible odds. We adapt, we improvise, and we survive. The Nexari think they know everything about us from watching our daily routines. They think we're just farmers and scientists. She moved to the strategic display, pulling up schematics of the station and surrounding area. They're wrong. Marcus, your agricultural research. Tell me about those modified organisms you've been developing. Dr. Webb straightened, understanding beginning to dawn in his eyes. Well, I have been working on some rather aggressive adaptive strains. They were meant for terraforming, but... Zara, those broken systems you've been jury-rigging, could they be modified for other purposes? The young engineer's grin was fierce. Captain, you'd be amazed what broken equipment can do when you wire it wrong on purpose. Tommy, you mentioned unusual signal patterns. How good are our communication systems at causing interference? Tommy's fingers were already dancing over his keyboards. If we pushed them beyond normal parameters, we could probably jam their targeting systems, maybe confuse their sensors. Sarah looked around the room at the faces of her people. They were scared, but not defeated. In their eyes, she saw something the Nexeri had not accounted for. Human ingenuity born of desperation. We have 6 hours to turn New Terra from a farming station into a fortress. The aliens expect to find helpless colonists. Let's show them what humans can do when we're cornered. As the department heads scattered to prepare their impossible defenses, Sarah remained at the command center. Through the viewports, the alien ships continued their steady approach, confident in their overwhelming superiority. They had no idea what they were about to face. The next 6 hours would transform New Terra Station from humanity's forgotten outpost into a legend that would spread across the galaxy. The Nexeri expected to conquer farmers. Instead, they would encounter something far more dangerous, humans with nothing left to lose and everything to fight for. Sarah checked her chronometer. 5 hours and 43 minutes until contact. She smiled coldly and began reviewing the station's most outdated technical manuals. Sometimes, the oldest solutions worked best against the newest problems. The forgotten outpost was about to remind the galaxy why humanity had earned its place among the stars. 7 minutes to victory. The Nexeri fleet moved into attack formation as New Terra Station sat silent in space. From the bridge of the lead warship, Commander Vextar observed the human settlement through tactical screens. The structure looked even more pathetic up close, a collection of aging modules held together by desperation and stubbornness. No energy signatures indicating weapons or shields, reported his tactical officer. Scans confirm minimal population. This will be over in minutes. Vextar's scaled lips curled in satisfaction. The humans had not even attempted to flee. Their surrender would serve as an excellent example to other colonies in this sector. The Nexeri Empire's expansion into human space was proceeding exactly as planned. "Begin the attack," he commanded. Inside New Terra Station, Sarah Chen sat calmly in the command center, surrounded by her senior staff. The main screen showed the approaching alien ships, now close enough to resolve individual weapon ports and shield generators. "Tommy, are you ready?" she asked quietly. Tommy Rodriguez cracked his knuckles and placed his hands over his console. "The communication array is overcharged and ready to go. When I flip this switch, we'll be broadcasting on every frequency simultaneously." "Zara?" The young engineer's eyes gleamed with anticipation. "Atmospheric processors, water recycling, gravity generators. Everything's been rewired and ready for Phase 2. The aliens are about to learn why I keep spare parts from everything." "Marcus?" Dr. Webb adjusted his glasses and nodded toward the agricultural sections. "The modified spores are loaded into the ventilation systems. If they board us, they'll get more than they bargained for." Sarah stood and moved to the viewport. The lead Nexeri ship was close enough now that she could see details of its hull. It was beautiful in a deadly way, all curves and angles designed for intimidation and destruction. "Remember, everyone," she said without turning around. "The key to this working is timing. We get one chance. If we fail, we won't fail," Zara interrupted firmly. "We're humans. We don't know how to fail properly." The first Nexeri energy beam lanced out toward the station, a brilliant purple lance of destruction meant to disable their communications. But instead of striking the communication array, it hit a precisely positioned reflective panel that Zara had installed just hours before. The beam bounced away harmlessly into space. "Now, Tommy," Sarah shouted. Tommy slammed his hand down on the console. Every communication device on New Terra Station, from personal comlinks to the main broadcast array, erupted in a coordinated electronic shriek. The cacophony of overlapping signals created a feedback loop that spread out from the station like an invisible shockwave. Aboard the Nexeri ships, tactical displays flickered and died. Targeting computers crashed and rebooted. Navigation systems began showing impossible readings. The carefully coordinated attack formation dissolved into chaos as ships tried to avoid collisions with phantoms that existed only in their confused sensors. "What is happening?" Vextar demanded, watching his displays flash red with error messages. "Unknown interference, Commander. Our systems are being overwhelmed by electromagnetic chaos. Sensors are reading hundreds of ships where we know only one exists. Vextar snarled in frustration. Switch to manual targeting. Fire everything at the station's center. But as the Nexeri ships fired their weapons, Zora's modifications revealed their true purpose. The station's atmospheric processors, designed to clean and circulate air, had been converted into powerful electromagnetic field generators. The energy beams that should have torn through the station's hull instead bent and twisted, redirected by invisible force fields into empty space. Impossible, breathed the Nexeri tactical officer. They're using industrial equipment as defensive systems. Sarah watched the alien weapons fire harmlessly around them and keyed her communicator. All teams, initiate Phase 2. Throughout the station, Zora's teams activated their modifications. The water recycling system, normally used to purify drinking water, began pumping superheated steam through external conduits that had been disguised as maintenance pipes. The steam erupted around the nearest Nexeri ship like a volcanic geyser, obscuring its sensors and causing its targeting computers to register thermal ghosts. Gravity generators, meant to keep the colonists comfortable, were suddenly reversed and redirected. Invisible gravitational fields reached out from the station, creating pockets of intense gravity that pulled at the alien ships. Smaller Nexeri fighters found themselves unable to maneuver as their engines fought against artificial gravity wells. "This is madness," Vextar shouted. "They're using farming equipment against us. How is this possible?" The answer came as Marcus Webb's biological modifications joined the battle. Spores that had been engineered to rapidly break down soil contamination were released from the station in clouds of seeming debris. When Nexeri boarding shuttles passed through the clouds, the spores adhered to their hulls and began their work. Within minutes, the shuttle's outer metal began to corrode and weaken. Seals failed, atmosphere leaked, and what should have been swift boarding operations became desperate struggles for survival. The spores had been designed to target specific molecular structures that happened to be very similar to Nexeri hull materials. "Commander," came a panicked voice over the comm. "Boarding Team 7 is requesting immediate extraction. Their shuttle is dissolving around them." But the humans weren't finished. Sarah gave the final order. "Zara, launch the mining drones." The station's cargo bays opened, releasing dozens of small, automated mining drones. These simple machines, designed to drill into asteroids for mineral extraction, swarmed toward the larger Nexeri ships. Their mining lasers, intended to cut through space rock, began carving into alien hulls with surprising effectiveness. The drones were too small and numerous for the Nexeri weapons to target effectively, and their simple AI made them immune to the electronic warfare the aliens attempted in response. They burrowed into ship hulls like mechanical parasites, following their programming to extract valuable materials, which, to their simple minds, included anything that looked like refined metal. Vextar watched in horror as his flagship's hull was slowly dismantled by what appeared to be construction equipment. His mighty warships, designed to conquer worlds, were being destroyed by farmers with repurposed tools. "All ships, withdraw," he commanded. "Immediate tactical retreat." But withdrawal proved impossible. Tommy's communication chaos had disrupted their navigation systems, the gravitational anomalies made precise maneuvering difficult, and the mining drones pursued them relentlessly. Ships collided with each other in the confusion, and the Nexeri formation fell apart completely. Sarah watched from the command center as alien ships fled in panic, many of them trailing atmosphere and sparking from multiple hull breaches. The entire battle had lasted exactly 7 minutes and 15 seconds. "Status report," she called out. "Station integrity at 98%. Zara reported, unable to hide her grin. "Minor power fluctuations, but everything's holding together." "Communication with the retreating ships established," Tommy added. "They're broadcasting on all frequencies, demanding to know what kind of military technology we used." Sarah keyed the main communicator. "Unknown vessels, this is Captain Sarah Chen of New Terra Station. You attacked a peaceful agricultural colony. What you experienced was not military technology, it was human ingenuity. We defended ourselves with farming equipment, mining tools, and recycled air. The response came quickly. Vextar's voice filled with disbelief and fear. Impossible. No species could what? Sarah interrupted. Turn plowshares into swords. Fix broken things until they work better than new. Make something from nothing. You clearly don't know humans very well. The alien commander's transmission grew desperate. We withdraw. We will not trouble your colony again. See that you don't, Sarah replied coldly. And Commander, tell your empire something. You picked on Earth's weakest colony and lost in 7 minutes. Imagine what our stronger ones could do. The Nexari ships limped away into hyperspace, their proud fleet reduced to a collection of damaged vessels trailing debris and mining drones that had to be physically removed by maintenance crews. As the alien ships disappeared from their sensors, the colonists of New Terra Station erupted in celebration. They had faced impossible odds and won through nothing more than human stubbornness and creativity. Dr. Webb appeared in the command center, his face flushed with excitement. Sarah, you realize what we've done. We've documented proof that human adaptive technology can defeat superior firepower. This changes everything. Tommy was already composing messages. The Colonial Defense Force is going to be very interested in this, and I think New Terra's budget allocation is about to improve dramatically. Zara stretched and yawned. Well, now I have to fix everything we broke to make it work right. But first, I'm taking a nap. Saving the human race is exhausting. Sarah remained at the viewport, looking out at the space where the alien fleet had been. New Terra Station sat unchanged. Still patched, still jury-rigged, still holding together through determination and ingenuity. But something fundamental had changed. They were no longer the forgotten outpost, humanity's weakest colony struggling at the edge of space. They had become something else, a symbol of human resilience and proof that necessity truly was the mother of invention. The news of New Terra's victory spread across human space faster than any starship could travel. Other colonies began examining their own equipment with new eyes, wondering what weapons might be hidden in their everyday tools. The Nexari Empire, meanwhile, issued warnings about the dangerous humans who could turn any technology into a weapon. Sarah smiled as she watched the stars. They had won more than just a battle. They had reminded the galaxy, and themselves, what humans could accomplish when they refused to give up. New Terra Station continued its orbit, looking exactly the same as before. But appearances, as the Nexari had learned, could be very deceiving indeed. In the depths of space, humanity's weakest colony had become its strongest symbol. The forgotten outpost would never be forgotten again.